So when you picture a bear, what image pops into your head?
Right. Probably something big, maybe a bit slow, lumbering.
Yeah, maybe scooping honey, right? Like a sort of slow motion forest creature.
Exactly. But that picture, it's kind of an evolutionary trick.
A trick. How so?
Because if you actually look at the evidence, the evolutionary path, very few creatures on this planet have scaled up or adapted faster than the bear lineage.
Really? Faster?
Oh, yeah. It's an amazing example of like evolutionary acceleration, the family Ursidae.
Yeah.
It's one of the quickest expansions we know of in the animal kingdom.
Wow. Okay. So what's our mission today then? What are we digging into?
We're basically tracking that incredible journey, trying to understand how bears went from, well, barely bigger than a house cat
Okay.
to the size of a small car. And they did it in a pretty narrow geological window, maybe 5 million years or so.
5 million years sounds like a long time, but in evolutionary terms.
It's a blink. It really is.
Hmm.
And the diversity they managed in that time is just staggering.
All right, we've got, what, 8 living species now?
8 species, yeah. And they cover such extremes in size and what they eat.
Like the sun bear you mentioned, that's the small end.
Exactly. Lives in tropical rainforests, maybe the size of a big dog, like a Great Dane.
Okay, so dog-sized on one end.
And then you jump all the way up to the Kodiak bear. Huge. One of the biggest land carnivorans alive, potentially hitting 750 kilograms.
750 kilos.
Yeah.
And their diets are just as varied too, right?
Completely. You've got the giant panda, which is, famous for being a strict vegetarian.
Bamboo specialist.
Right. Then the American black bear, classic omnivore, loves berries, fish, whatever it finds. And then the polar bear, totally specialized for the Arctic, living off marine mammal fat, basically.
It's that range that's so fascinating. But the ancient link, that's maybe the biggest surprise.
Ah, yeah. Their closest living relatives. It throws people off.
It really does. You look at a huge grizzly bear, and you don't immediately think ocean.
But that's where the connection is. Eared seals, walruses, true seals, they all share a relatively recent common ancestor with bears.
Feels like yesterday, evolutionarily speaking.
It really does. And that link probably goes way back, right to the start of the family tree.
So what was the start? What did the very first proto-bears look like?
Well, the earliest ancestors, things like Perius, they were tiny, smaller than a cat.
Smaller than a cat. Wow.
Yeah, and they would have looked much more like, say, a modern wolverine. Kind of sleek, low to the ground, fierce little predators.
Not very bear-like yet then.
Definitely not. The classic bear form wasn't a given at that point.
So when did the first undisputed bear show up? The one where we say, okay, that's a bear.
That moment seems to be around 25 million years ago. We're talking about Osavis elmensis, the dawn bear.
The dawn bear. Where did it live?
Appeared in Europe, actually, during the early Miocene. The climate back then was more subtropical.
And how big was it? Still tiny.
Getting bigger, but still not huge. Maybe the size of a fox?
Fox-sized. Okay.
But what's really significant about the dawn bear isn't just its appearance, it's the trend it immediately set.
Which was?
Getting bigger.
Right.
From that fox-sized start, the lineage just immediately starts scaling up. It's like size increase became the defining evolutionary direction for bears right from the get-go.
They were going for bulk.
Seems like it. Seeking that advantage in size.
Okay, speaking of size, let's jump ahead. The European cave bears, they're famous for being massive, right?
Absolutely. Ursus spelaeus is the most well-known. Appeared maybe 200,000 years ago, stuck around until the last glacial maximum, about 25,000 years ago.
And the fossils. There are tons of them.
Tons is an understatement. It's an incredibly rich record. We found well over 100,000 individuals.
100,000. Where?
Mostly in the caves they used for shelter, especially for denning. They died in there and got preserved beautifully.
And they were big.
Oh, yeah. Stocky, really robust build. The biggest males were easily the size of a large, modern grizzly bear.
Gives you a sense of scale when you hear about those early fossil finds, doesn't it?
You mean the dragon bones?
Exactly. 1700s, Slovakia, people digging up these enormous bones and just thinking, well, they must be dragons.
You don't mistake a badger fossil for a dragon, right? It tells you something about the sheer size they were encountering.
Definitely. So where do they fit in the family tree? Were they closely related to modern brown bears?
Related, but they split off quite a while back. U. spelaeus diverged from the brown bear polar bear line maybe 3 million years ago.
Okay. And do we know their direct ancestor?
We think so. Likely Ursus teningeri lived a bit earlier, early to middle Pleistocene, and was slightly smaller.
And you can actually see the transition.
Yeah, that's the amazing part. We found these beautiful transitional fossils that really bridge the gap. You can see that gradual increase in size and stockiness between Deningery and Spelaeus. It's a neat evolutionary snapshot.
Okay, that makes sense. But it brings up that big question again. If they got so massive, like the cave bear,
Yeah.
how? How did any bear get this huge, especially if they weren't pure hunters? That's the puzzle, right? The giant omnivore paradox.
It really is the central question in bear evolution. Because normally when you see really large carnivores, think big cats like lions or tigers, they're almost always hypercarnivores.
Meaning they eat mostly meat.
Right, like 70% or more of their diet has to be high-calorie prey to fuel that huge body. But most omnivores in the carnivoran order, they stay pretty small, rarely over, say, 20 kilos.
But bears broke that rule. Big time.
They did. Even the giant ones, like grizzlies or cave bears, kept a significant amount of plant matter in their diet. Their teeth tell us Spelaeus was probably omnivorous, much like brown bears today.
So,
But wait.
if they're not getting all their energy from constant high-calorie kills like a lion, how on earth did they power a 500-kilo body? Especially through lean times or winter.
Well, they seem to have evolved a couple of key adaptations, a sort of 1-2 punch to crack the energy code.
Okay, what's the first one?
It's mechanical, it's all about the chewing. Bear molars are very different from a cat's sharp slicing harnassals.
How?
They became much flatter, more robust. Think grinding surfaces, not slicing blades. This allowed them to efficiently grind up really tough plant material roots, nuts, dense vegetation.
So like built-in food processors.
Pretty much. They could just pulverize that stuff and pull out more nutrients than other carnivorans could from the same food sources. It let them tap into a huge, reliable food source that wasn't just meat.
Clever. Okay, that helps with getting energy in. What about conserving it, especially through winter? What's the second adaptation?
That's their amazing energy conservation trick, thinning. Though we should be careful with the word hibernation.
Right, it's not quite true hibernation like, say, a ground squirrel.
Exactly. True hibernators drop their body temperature way down, close to freezing sometimes, and they're really hard to wake up.
But bears, they're different.
Very different. A brown bear, for instance, will dramatically lower its heart rate, maybe from 40, 50 beats per minute down to just 8 or 10.
Wow.
But its body temperature only drops by a few degrees. This means they can actually wake up quite quickly if they're disturbed or threatened.
Okay, so it's more like a deep, energy-saving torpor.
Precisely. And here's the truly remarkable bit. While they're in this state, for maybe 3 to 7 months, depending on the place, they don't eat, they don't drink, they don't urinate, they don't defecate.
For months, how is that even possible?
Their metabolism just shifts into this incredibly efficient recycling mode. It allows them to survive massive periods of resource scarcity without needing to constantly find high-calorie food.
That's an incredible efficiency. And isn't this denning period also when...
Yes, when the mothers give birth and nurse their tiny cubs, all while running on stored fat reserves.
Which also explains why we find so many cave bear fossils in caves, right?
Absolutely. It was a high-risk period. If their fat reserves ran out or they got sick during the denning period, they often died right there in the cave. That's why the fossil record is so rich in those specific locations.
Okay, so we had giant omnivores in Europe. What about North America? Do they have their own giants?
Oh, indeed they did. North America had the giant short-faced bear, Arctodus simus.
Short-faced bear. When did it live?
It split off from the ancestor it shares with the modern spectacled bear maybe 6 million years ago. So it was around for quite a while during the Pleistocene.
And was it... I mean, the name short-faced doesn't sound that imposing.
Don't let the name fool you. These things are absolutely gargantuan.
How big are we talking?
Standing on their hind legs, maybe 3.5 meters tall.
Whoa.
And weight estimates go up to maybe 1,000 kilograms. Easily the largest terrestrial mammalian carnivore in North America at the time.
A ton. Okay, so forget the name. They were huge. But were they slow lumbering giants like the stereotype?
Absolutely not. This is where the bear story gets even more interesting regarding speed. Arctodus was likely built for running.
A running giant bear.
Estimates suggest it could reach speeds of maybe 40 kilometers an hour.
How do we know that?
From its skeleton. It had proportionally much longer limbs than modern bears. Its toes faced more forward like a runner's. And crucially, it had this huge nasal opening.
Why does the nose matter?
More air intake. Better oxygen supply for sustained running, probably across the open grasslands and savannas that were common in North America back then.
So completely blows that slow, honey-scooping image out of the water again.
Totally. It shows how bears could rapidly specialize for different environments and lifestyles, even involving high speed. Whether it was a pure hunter or more of a scavenger is still debated, but it was definitely not slow.
That speed of evolution that keeps coming up, doesn't it? It seems to be the real theme here.
It absolutely is. And maybe the most dramatic recent example is the polar bear, Ursus maritimus.
Right, a hyper-specialized predator of the Arctic. But evolutionarily, it's practically brand new, isn't it?
Astonishingly new. It's split from the brown bear lineage very, very recently, probably within the last 500,000 years, maybe even less.
500,000 years. That's nothing in evolutionary time.
Exactly. Some researchers call it evolutionary light speed. To adapt so thoroughly to that extreme Arctic environment, shifting to a diet almost exclusively of high-fat marine mammals.
How long did that take, roughly?
Yeah. They think it happened in potentially as few as 20,000 generations.
20,000 generations to go from an omnivorous brown bear ancestor to a specialized Arctic seal hunter.
Yes. On a geological scale, that's incredibly fast. It just highlights the immense genetic flexibility hiding within the bear family. They have the toolkit ready to adapt quickly when the pressure is on.
And we see evidence of that closeness still today, right?
Yeah.
With hybrids.
Yes. The Pisleys or Growler bears. Because the split was so recent, polar bears and brown bears are still genetically similar enough that they can interbreed.
And critically, their offspring are fertile.
That's the key point. Unlike, say, a horse and a donkey producing an infertile mule, these bear hybrids can reproduce. It shows that reproductive isolation isn't complete yet, underlining just how recent that evolutionary divergence really was.
Amazing genetic plasticity, just ready to pivot.
Exactly. The underlying genetic potential was there to shift from omnivore to hypercarnivore in what amounts to an evolutionary instant.
Okay, so if the polar bear is the fastest, most recent specialization, what about the opposite end? The oldest split among the living bears?
That would have to be the giant panda. It took a completely different path very early on.
When did the panda lineage diverge?
Way back, probably around 19 million years ago. It represents the deepest, most ancient split among all of the bear species alive today. It's the only living member of its entire genus, Ailuropoda.
13 million years. And it went in such a unique direction.
Absolutely spectacular specialization. It's the only bear that became a strict vegetarian, which, considering its ancestors were likely fierce omnivores or carnivores, is just remarkable.
And yet, despite eating only bamboo, it's still a powerful animal, right?
Incredibly powerful. The selective pressure to deal with tough bamboo led to it developing one of the strongest bite forces of any land mammal.
Stronger than most predators.
Potentially, yes. Maybe second only to something like the short-faced bear we discussed.
Yeah.
But the panda needs that immense jaw strength, not for crushing bone, but just for crushing bamboo stalks.
Just to break down those tough cell walls and get enough nutrients out of, basically, grass.
Exactly. It's the ultimate evolutionary commitment to a very specific, low-nutrient niche diet. It required immense physical adaptations, just like the polar bear's adaptation to high-fat seals, but in a totally different direction.
It really shows the different ways gigantism and specialization could play out within this one family.
It does. Powerful jaws and bodies evolved to hunt seals in one case and to eat tough grass in another. Incredible versatility.
So we've traced this incredible journey from tiny Wolverine-like ancestors through massive cave dwellers and speedy giants,
Right.
to the hyper-specialized polar bear and the unique vegetarian panda, all fueled by a flexible teeth, that amazing denning strategy for energy saving, and just a blindingly fast adaptation.
That speed is the key takeaway, I think.
But now we have to face the present day. What's the situation for bears now?
Yeah, that's where the story gets quite sobering. Because while bear evolution has been fast, the speed of human-driven change is now, well, it's outpacing it.
How so? What are the main threats?
It's the changes we're making to their environment. Pollution, definitely climate change, especially for species like the polar bear, but maybe most critically, habitat destruction, deforestation, human encroachment.
Squeezing them out.
Exactly. And the result is that currently 6 out of the 8 living bear species are facing a serious risk of extinction.
6 out of 8. That's stark.
It is. We've seen how incredibly resilient and flexible this lineage is. They scaled up fast. The polar bear specialized in maybe 20,000 generations? They can adapt.
But can they adapt fast enough for us?
That's the question, isn't it? They are genetically primed to pivot, to change. if the environmental shifts happen over geological timescales, even relatively fast ones like the ice ages. But the changes we're causing now, they're happening over decades, not millennia.
So the issue is whether we're giving them the time, those thousands of generations that they might need to make the next evolutionary jump.
Precisely. Their evolutionary speed is impressive, but it might still not be fast enough to cope with the exponential speed of human impact.
Which leaves us with a pretty challenging thought, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Something for you, the listener, to mull over.
Yeah.
Considering that 6 out of 8 species are already at risk, but knowing the almost unbelievable speed at which bears can evolve, like we saw with the polar bear in the geological blink, what does that tell us about the balance? Is there incredible evolutionary plasticity enough? Or is the sheer speed of human-driven environmental change simply too much, too fast for even these masters of adaptation to keep up with? What might we see next for the Ursus?